Number 10. Chinese ophthalmologist Li Wenliang warned everyone for a pandemic before coronavirus spread, but he was admonished by Wuhan police of making false comments. Li Wenliang was a Chinese ophthalmologist who worked as a physician at Wuhan Central Hospital. Li warned his colleagues in December 2019 about a possible outbreak of an illness that resembled severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, later acknowledged as COVID-19. He became a whistleblower when his warnings were later shared publicly. On January 3, 2020, Wuhan police summoned and admonished him for making false comments on the internet. Li returned to work, later contracted the virus from an infected patient, who had been originally treated for glaucoma, and died from the disease on February 7, 2020, at age 33. A subsequent Chinese official inquiry exonerated him, and the Communist Party of China formally offered a solemn apology to his family and revoked its admonishment of him. On January 8, Li contracted the coronavirus when he came into contact with an infected patient at his hospital. The patient suffered from acute angle closure glaucoma and developed a fever the next day. Li then began to suspect that the patient might have a coronavirus infection. Li developed a fever and cough on January 10, which soon became severe. Dr. Yu Jinbo, a Zhejiang medical expert sent to Wuhan, told media that although most young patients do not tend to develop severe conditions, the glaucoma patient whom Li saw on January 8 was a storekeeper at Huanan seafood market with a high viral load, which could have exacerbated Li's infection. On January 12, Li was admitted to intensive care at Haohe Hospital District, Wuhan Central Hospital, where he was quarantined, treated, and tested for the virus several times until he tested positive for the infection on January 30. He was diagnosed with the virus infection on February 1. When Li began showing symptoms of the coronavirus illness, he booked a hotel room to avoid the possibility of infecting his family, before being hospitalized on January 12. Despite this precaution, his parents became infected with SARS-CoV-2, but later recovered. Li and his wife, Fu Suejia, had one son. His wife was pregnant with their second child at the time of his death. Number 9. The coronavirus, COVID-19, and the SARS outbreak of 2003 have two things in common: both are from the coronavirus family, and both most likely started in Chinese wet markets. At wet markets, outdoor stalls are squeezed together to form narrow lanes, where locals and visitors shop for cuts of meat and ripe produce. A stall selling caged chickens may abut a butcher counter, where meat is chopped as nearby dogs watch hungrily. Some vendors hawk hares, while seafood stalls display glistening fish and shrimp. Wet markets put people and live and dead animals, dogs, chickens, pigs, snakes, civets, and more in constant close contact. That makes it easy for zoonotic diseases to jump from animals to humans. Poorly regulated, live animal markets mixed with illegal wildlife trade offer a unique opportunity for viruses to spill over from wildlife hosts into the human population, the Wildlife Conservation Society said in a statement. In the case of SARS and the new coronavirus disease, called COVID-19, bats were the original hosts. The bats then infected other animals, which transmitted the disease to humans. The market where the COVID-19 outbreak may have started, the Huanan Seafood Wholesale Market in Wuhan, was shuttered January 1. Wuhan authorities banned the trade of live animals at all wet markets there soon after, and China announced a temporary national ban on the buying, selling, and transportation of wild animals in markets, restaurants, and online marketplaces across the country as well. Some experts have applauded the permanent ban. The government has signaled that it wants to take immediate action to prevent any future outbreaks of diseases that spread from animals to humans, Li Zhang, a conservation biologist at Beijing Normal University, told Nature. Number 8. After the outbreak of COVID-19, Shenzhen has become the first Chinese city to ban the sale and consumption of dog and cat meat. It comes after the coronavirus outbreak was linked to wildlife meat, prompting Chinese authorities to ban the trade and consumption of wild animals. Shenzhen went a step further, extending the ban to dogs and cats. 30 million dogs a year are killed across Asia for meat, says Humane Society International, HSI. However, the practice of eating dog meat in China is not that common. The majority of Chinese people have never done so and say they don't want to. Dogs and cats as pets have established a much closer relationship with humans than all other animals, and banning the consumption of dogs and cats and other pets is a common practice in developed countries and in Hong Kong and Taiwan, the Shenzhen city government said, according to a Reuters report. This ban also responds to the demand and spirit of human civilization. This really could be a watershed moment in efforts to end this brutal trade that kills an estimated 10 million dogs and 4 million cats in China every year, said Dr. Peter Li, China policy specialist for HSI. However, at the same time as this ruling, China approved the use of bear bile to treat coronavirus patients. Bear bile, a digestive fluid drained from living captive bears, has long been used in traditional Chinese medicine. The active ingredient, ursodeoxycholic acid, is used to dissolve gallstones and treat liver disease. But there is no proof that it is effective against the coronavirus, and the process is painful and distressing for the animals. Brian Daly, a spokesman for the Animals Asia Foundation, told AFP, "We shouldn't be relying on wildlife products like bear bile as the solution to combat a deadly virus that appears to have originated from wildlife." In February 2020, Chinese authorities banned the trade and consumption of wild animals. The move came after it emerged that a market in Wuhan selling wild animals and wildlife meat could have been the starting point for the outbreak of the new coronavirus, providing the means for the virus to travel from animals to humans. News of this led the Chinese government to crack down strongly on the trade and on the markets that sold such products. Number 7. In March 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic led to all the other leagues in Europe to be postponed, and by the end of the month, the Belarusian Premier League was the only top-flight league in the continent that was still playing. The Belarusian Premier League, or the Vysshaya Liga, is the top division of professional football in Belarus, and is organized by the Belarusian Football Federation. The number of teams in the competition has varied over the years from as high as 17, 1992-93 season, to as low as 11, 2012. As of 2019, the league includes 16 teams. Each team plays every other team twice during the course of the season. At the end of the season, 2 teams are relegated to the Belarusian First League, and 2 are promoted from the First League to replace them. In March 2020, the 2019-20 coronavirus pandemic led to all the other football leagues in Europe to be postponed, and by the end of the month, the Belarusian Premier League was the only top-flight league in the continent that was still playing. Due to this, the league gained substantially increased viewership from abroad, with fans from all over the world watching the games online, due to the league being the only significant professional football available. British betting companies also offered odds for the various matches, as the league's profile, previously relatively unknown outside of the country, grew a larger audience due to sporting inactivity elsewhere. Number 6. During COVID-19 pandemic, Diamond Princess cruise ship was quarantined for nearly a month with her passengers on board. At least 712 out of the 3,711 passengers and crew were infected, and 10 have died. Diamond Princess is a British registered cruise ship owned and operated by Princess Cruises. She began operation in March 2004 and primarily cruises in Asia during the Northern Hemisphere summer and Australia during the Southern Hemisphere summer. She is a subclassed Grand Class ship, which is also known as a Gem Class ship. Diamond Princess and her sister ship, Sapphire Princess, are the widest subclass of Grand Class ships, as they have a 37.5 meter, 123 feet 0 inch, beam, while all other Grand Class ships have a beam of 36 meters, 118 feet 1 inch. Diamond Princess and Sapphire Princess were both built in Nagasaki, Japan, by Mitsubishi Industries. There have been 2 notable outbreaks of infectious disease on the ship: an outbreak of gastroenteritis caused by norovirus in 2016 and an outbreak of the COVID-19 coronavirus in 2020. In the latter incident, the ship was quarantined for nearly a month with her passengers on board, and her passengers and crew were subject to further quarantine after disembarking. At least 712 out of the 3,711 passengers and crew were infected, and 10 have died. Number 5. It was the first time in its 73-year history that 2020 edition of Cannes Film Festival was called off due to COVID-19. The Cannes Festival, until 2003 called the International Film Festival and known in English as the Cannes Film Festival, is an annual film festival held in Cannes, France, which previews new films of all genres, including documentaries from all around the world. Founded in 1946, the invitation-only festival is held annually, usually in May, at the Palais des Festivals et des Congrès. On July 1, 2014, co-founder and former head of French pay-TV operator Canal+, Pierre Lescure, took over as president of the festival, while Thierry Frémaux became the general delegate. The board of directors also appointed Jill Jacob as honorary president of the festival. Is one of the big 3 film festivals, alongside the Venice Film Festival and Berlin International Film Festival. The big 3 are internationally acclaimed for giving creators the artistic freedom to express themselves through film. In 1951, FIAP formally accredited the festival. On March 20, 2020, organizers announced the postponement of the Cannes Film Festival 2020 due to the coronavirus global health crisis. Spike Lee, director of Do the Right Thing and Black Klansman, had been chosen to lead the jury panel. In 2019, the jury panel was led by Alejandro González Iñárritu, director of Birdman. Number 4. The 2020 Tokyo Olympics have been postponed due to concerns over the spread of COVID-19. This is the first time an Olympic game has been postponed. It has been cancelled in wartime but never postponed. The 2020 Summer Olympics, officially the Games of the XXXII Olympiad and commonly known as Tokyo 2020, is an upcoming international multi-sport event to be held in Tokyo, Japan. Originally scheduled to take place between July 24 and August 9, 2020, the Games have been rescheduled for July 23 to August 8, 2021 as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Despite being held in 2021, the Games of the XXXII Olympiad will keep the name Tokyo 2020 for marketing and branding purposes. This marks the first time in history that the Olympic Games have been postponed, rather than cancelled. Tokyo was selected as the host city during the 125th IOC session in Buenos Aires, Argentina, on September 7, 2013. This will be the second time that Japan and specifically Tokyo has hosted the Summer Olympic Games, the first being in 1964, making it the first city in Asia to host the Summer Games twice. Overall, these will be the 4th Olympic Games to be held in Japan, which also hosted the Winter Olympics in 1972, Sapporo, and 1998, Nagano. The 2020 Games will be the second of 3 consecutive Olympics to be held in East Asia, the first being the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang County, South Korea, and the next being the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, China. These Games will see the introduction of new competitions at the Summer Olympics, including 3x3 basketball, freestyle BMX, and Madison cycling, as well as further mixed events. Under new IOC policies that allow the host organizing committee to add sports to the Olympic program to augment the permanent core Olympic events, these Games will see karate, sport climbing, surfing, and skateboarding make their Olympic debuts, as well as the return of baseball and softball for the first time since 2008. Number 3. Contrary to popular myth, exposing yourself to the sun or temperatures higher than 25 Celsius does not prevent the coronavirus disease, COVID-19. You can catch COVID-19, no matter how sunny or hot the weather is. Countries with hot weather have reported cases of COVID-19. To protect yourself, make sure you clean your hands frequently and thoroughly and avoid touching your eyes, mouth, and nose. Number 2. Peru executed public movement restriction by gender to prevent COVID-19 spread. Peru began enforcing strict measures to stop the spread of the coronavirus disease, restricting public movement by gender. Men can only leave home on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Women can do so on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. On Sundays, no one is allowed out. President Martin Vizcarra said that previous control measures had given good results but not what was hoped for. Calling for an extra effort to control this disease, he said the new gender-based restrictions should have the number of people circulating in public at any one time. We have to get fewer people on the streets every day, he added. Interior Minister Carlos Moran warned that the police and armed forces would be enforcing the new measures. On Sunday everyone has to be at home, he said. Banks will not work and supermarkets, markets, and shops will be closed. There will also be no pharmacies. No one has justification for leaving. Number 1. The coronavirus pandemic made the earth vibrate less. Once crowded city streets got empty. Highway traffic slowed to a minimum. And fewer people can be found milling about outside. Global containment measures to combat the spread of the coronavirus have seemingly made the world much quieter. Scientists noticed it, too. Around the world, seismologists observed a lot less ambient seismic noise, meaning the vibrations generated by cars, trains, buses, and people going about their daily lives. And in the absence of that noise, Earth's upper crust moved just a little less. Thomas Lecoq, a geologist and seismologist at the Royal Observatory in Belgium, first pointed out this phenomenon in Brussels. Brussels saw about a 30% to 50% reduction in ambient seismic noise in the mid-March, around the time the country started implementing school and business closures and other social distancing measures, according to Lecoq. That noise level is on par with what seismologists would see on Christmas Day, he said. The reduction in noise has had a particularly interesting effect in Brussels. Lecoq and other seismologists were able to detect smaller earthquakes and other seismic events that certain seismic stations wouldn't have registered. Seismic stations were typically set up outside urban areas, because the reduced human noise makes it easier to pick up on subtle vibrations in the ground. The one in Brussels, however, was built more than a century ago and the city has since expanded around it. The daily hum of city life means that the station in Brussels wouldn't typically pick up on smaller seismic events. Seismologists would instead rely on a separate borehole station, which uses a pipe deep in the ground to monitor seismic activity. But for the moment, because of the city's quietness, it's almost as good as the one on the bottom, Lecoq said. Seismologists in other cities saw similar effects in their own cities. Paula Coelho-Meyer posted a graph on Twitter showing how noise in West London has been affected, with drops in the period after schools and social venues in the United Kingdom closed and again after a government lockdown was announced. Celeste Labeds, a PhD student at the California Institute of Technology, posted a graph showing an especially stark drop in Los Angeles. Hope you all enjoyed.